Divisions in Society, November 2020. There's just too much fake-induced competition in society. Everyone is, well, okay, I don't know about everyone, but a lot of us are somehow conditioned, probably through peer pressure, to make everything into a competition and to try and prove something, like prove that we have an advantage over others or an edge over others in a skill area or a knowledge area, or in the case of a lot of people, a money area. And Americans don't, well, America has its slogans that we are equal and we have freedoms, and we don't. We don't have freedom of press. We do not have freedom of speech. We do not have freedom of assembly, especially in hashtag current year or $ current year, because time is going so fast that current year is all you can really call it. And you'll notice that there are these divisions in society among genders, race, very especially socioeconomic classes, regional origins like the North versus the South. It's really hard to say what the mindset of America is because it is a very, very diverse country. There's all of these very different people that can all be considered natural Americans, except they're very different, from Southerners to Northerners, East Coast, West Coast, Deep South, New England, Pacific Northwest, Midwest, flyover, big cities, all those divisions. And a very prominent division is rich people don't talk to poor people, but America also has a very broad middle class, and I don't really know what's true about other nations because they have been smeared by the American media. Like, Africa is not exactly dirt poor and starving. That's a smear. A lot of Africans will say that the food really sucks in the so-called first world, and they're not starving. They know that our food sucks and their food is really fresh. And anyhow, arranged marriages are a huge thing in America. It's just rephrased as shotgun wedding, where they make up a fake scenario where supposedly a Martin, who's probably firing blanks, knocks up a woman or a castrato, and I'm not really going to get into that part, but I've already talked about it. A very big divider is the sex or gender division, where, well, real men are incredibly rare, and Martins are the first majority, women are the second majority, castrati are a minority, and the proportions of these gender groups will vary from region to region, but I think that it's going to mostly be that way worldwide. Anyhow, there's this strong unfriendliness. Now, it's been documented that humans exhibit herd behavior, like bovines do. However, you'll notice that when you introduce animals into a group, the animals will go around sniffing each other's butts, and then they'll have a little bit of dominance aggression, and when they're done with that, they all just kind of get along, more or less. If they have a problem, they'll eventually get over it, even if it takes a while, but among humans, things are different. Now, with animals, it's going to be male, female, and then hermaphrodites, which are strangely received by their peers, because even animals use the penis is male, vagina is female logic. So when they meet a hermaphrodite, there's a lot of confusion. And a lot of the time, the normal animals aren't really sure what to do, because there's going to be dominance aggression. So usually the males will assume that if the other animal has a girl dick, then they're just gonna probably beat her up a little bit, or they might go, wait, something strange here, but maybe I shouldn't be too harsh. So yeah, it kind of varies, I guess, depending on species, perhaps. Personally, I haven't met many transgendered dogs, but with cats and ferrets and bovines, that happens. I don't really know much about raising bovines, though, but... So, hermaphrodites are just a thing that happens, but with humans, it's forced. And then there's that secret, this huge secret in plain sight club, and they treat the natural people very poorly, but we live in a fake world. The food is fake, money is fake, everything is artificial, and society is the exact same way. It's all forced. So, even though something can be naturally occurring, when it's brute forced, using organic methods, it's not quite natural, but... Anyhow, people get weirdly jealous, so there's this forced coldness and distancing even before this COVID shit. Like, if there's a Martin and a woman married or something like that, a Martin and a castrata, but usually it's Martin and women, the woman will get extremely jealous if the Martin talks to anybody that uses she, her pronouns. So it's like, for married people, or people in a relationship, they're not allowed to talk to people of the same age and opposite gender. It's weird. It shouldn't be like that. Ideally, we would all just be talking and being friends. Like, it's okay if people of different ages and occupations will talk to each other, but like, if a he, him person is in a relationship with a she, her person, he's not allowed to talk to she, her people of the same age or a lower age. It's a little bit hard to talk about because this is a very foggy topic and not laid out very clearly. It's one of those unwritten rule things, and I don't know. It's very annoying because we need to talk more than ever, and at this point, actually, all kinds of different people are very open to talking about strange things. Some topics are easier than others to bring up. Some topics are very hard. Like, when I was put on the spot by a random encounter, and even though it's easy for me to say outlandish things into a recording device, to say it to another person's face, even though it was a real person, I was having a very hard time. I didn't plan it. It just happened, and I had to seize the opportunity, and then I realized there are all these factors, like what would I do if this person repeats openly what I said without understanding the implications? Because the other person didn't quite fully know what was going on. I'm sure he had an inkling. We all feel things in our instincts and in our hearts, but when you don't understand all of the stuff of a scenario and all of the things that can come of it, it's easy to just say something carelessly without realizing what could happen. And with that in mind, and knowing the other person didn't understand all that yet, I had to be very careful with my words, and, well, we'll just worry about that as it develops. But some really open topics that are on the internet, photos of chemtrails are censored, but in real life you can just point to a chemtrail and say, I didn't see that back in the 90s. Or you can talk about time going faster, and some people will get angry and other people will go, man, you're onto something. And you can talk about the mark of the beast coming up, and people know about this. People are ready to talk. I usually end up talking with Martins and women because that is the majority. And I just prefer to avoid castrati, but because I don't want to seem suspicious by refusing to talk about a thing with a person based on their gender, I have to say some things just to keep my head down. You know how it is when you're forced to consistently act a certain way around all people, just so you don't come across like you're behaving differently around different types of people, but it's complicated, and I guess I'm a little too cowardly right now, but don't worry about it. I'm getting bolder because as I keep pressing, people are ready now. People want you to say these things. There's a lot of petty jealousy and like, oh, don't talk to a younger woman, or don't talk to a younger man, or don't talk to a hunkier man. Men are rare, but they exist. You might find them. If you find a man, you have to talk to him. If you find a young woman that didn't go down the wrong path, you have to talk to her. Find any way to break the ice, because people want you to say weird things, basically. That's kind of a strange way to phrase it, but you can say something very strange and they will eat it up. They are going to be very happy that you said it. In fact, they'll probably add to it. And again, there's that whole breaking the taboo thing, where it's like the emperor has no clothes. Like, I wonder what I guess the emperor has no clothes is deliberately open to interpretation, because can you wonder, did the people all know that he was naked, but they all just went along with it to humor him because they didn't want to face any backlash? Or did they delude themselves into believing he had invisible clothes? Or did they have illusion magic that made them falsely perceive that he was wearing clothes? Who knows? It's a pretty good story because you can view it in many different ways. That said, I guess here is some random things. Raising children is stupid, stressful, and hard with time speeding up in antisocial, unhelpful society. This is somewhat related to, it used to be don't spare the child of the rod and spank your children, and I've heard that talking to a 5-year-old like they're an adult will get you nowhere, and sometimes you just have to be, sometimes you just gotta use old-fashioned discipline to condition the kid to not do bad things. Also, yeah, kid is a goat word, but, most children are goat kids, aren't they? And regarding whenever you see human media, like any casual photo or a casual blog entry or a private diary entry or someone's personal fan fiction or whatever, just something a human being makes for fun, that's human media. Anything highly produced for a profit is Baphomedia. Anyway, someone says, I wonder why certain stuff like that has strong feelings attached to it, like it's capturing a feeling, or it's supernatural or something, truly demonic in nature, but for being kinda not a huge deal, the way so-and-so clip hits you in the stomach area gives me an uneasy warm pit of the stomach feeling. Response? The response is, I know what you mean. Some people say that sound is falsely represented in 2D as a 2D waveform, 2D being two-dimensional, but real sound is 3D. If in real life you hear an eagle chirping, it's a high-pitched twitter that an eagle makes, but when you hear a recording it just sounds like high-pitched bird twitter. You don't really feel the three-dimensional sound waves, but if you're actually there present in an area where an eagle is twittering nearby, you can feel physically that a huge, like a 2-foot-tall bird is making this big, thick twittering noise, but it's high-pitched. It's kind of akin to the high-pitched castrato screeching versus my voice, but I have been exposed to testosterone, and I think all women have, because androgel is on all the surfaces. So, and not only that, but there is a huge effort to try and force girls to grow penises, and we have to deal with the side effects, so you can hear in my voice that I have been somewhat altered. Anyhow, sometimes energy is captured, as in a photograph or a recording. Sometimes some energy is captured, some emotion, intent, idea. I've felt strange, indescribable, weird vibes / emotion / something off of stuff I saw. Just so odd and off the wall. Fascinating and mysterious. Anyway, responding to so-and-so smacking their child. Children are inherently screechy brats that need to understand that the more one withstands petty suffering, the higher their tolerance is. Children that are met with apathy or a hard slap for messing up will become more emotionally stable, if it's warranted and deserved. Children who try to do good and get abused and hated on will always be really messed up. Sadly, I know too many cases of this. And people who go, OMG, how horrible YouTubers smacked the poor, sweet, innocent child. If it were my child, I'd smack. If it were a stranger's child, I'd leave because I'd go to jail for smacking some other person's dumb brat. Yeah, people have pointed out that it used to be understood that if your child got out of line, you'd beat their ass because they haven't cognitively developed understanding. Children are targeted by advertising. I remember once I went to a garage sale and I saw a whole collection of Joe Camel paraphernalia for toddlers, like Joe Camel bibs, Joe Camel sippy cups, a Joe Camel high chair. They dropped the Joe Camel character, and also people said that his nose looked like 2 vaginas, so there's that. But yeah, that's a forgotten character, Joe Camel of Camel cigarettes, baby merchandise. Anyhow, there's some people that I'm aware of that absolutely hate McDonald's ad campaigns and, any advertising targeting children, because there's this advertising word called pester power, and you'll notice that advertisements aimed at children will feature suspicious imagery, usually of a sexual nature, which is normalization, and also just abstract imagery, like there is some fruit juice straw commercial that featured children's necks being popped up like straws. It was a little bit disturbing. Or if they ate fruit, their heads would turn into fruit. And you're not going to find that in adult advertising, because adult advertising will be, here's our product, here's the credentials, here are the claims we make. Children's advertising is, look at these colors, look, your head turns into a fruit, look, your neck is a straw, and other weird things. Children's advertisings don't make any claims. So there's that to consider. I don't watch TV and I skip through all ads, so I am kind of relying on outdated stuff, outdated information. I'm not up to date and I don't care. Anyway, some notes about divisions between types of people in society. Don't talk to strangers. That was a great big deal in the 80s and 90s, the stranger danger, and then it was found out that most child abductors were people that the children knew. And that could be a messy thing like, now I'm just speculating here, but a lot of the so-called kidnappings was the result of a very bad divorce, and one parent just wanted to take the children away from the other parent out of spite. But then again, maybe they could have had a real reason, so I don't know. I don't have any personal observations. It's one of those, I'm repeating things other people have said, and I can't personally verify it. So there's that don't talk to strangers. If in a relationship, don't talk to opposite sex person of same age or younger age. Don't talk to people of other socio-economic class. Don't talk to people of other races. Don't talk to people of other interests. You know, the tropes about nerds sticking with nerds, valley girls sticking with valley girls, jocks sticking with jocks, and yeah, that's a division according to interest group. So we have to move past that. We're at the point where you have to talk to any human being that you find. Even if it's awkward, if I did it, you can do it too. It doesn't matter how awkward it is, you have to do it. So, now changing the topic again, this one is about opiates. An interesting point someone brought up was how medicine has changed today to being obsessed with pain management. She said it was the opiate pill pushers who really pushed all these rate your pain on a scale of 1 to 10 with different smiley faces, with different smiley face drawings for the pain levels. Back in the day, pain was a known part of the process. Having surgery, you'd be expected a painful recovery. Today they are obsessed with pain management and have people taking huge doses of pain meds as frequent as possible. People get addicted real easily to opiates. And yeah, I did have some kind of a surgery once where I dealt with dull pain afterwards, but I was given Vicodin. However, I never took it. I didn't need to because I wasn't suffering that much. Honestly, I had frequent problems that were far, far worse than what the Vicodin was prescribed for. Another one, apathy pills ruin society. So this person wonders, what is the difference between Japan and Western First World? Japan is mostly skinny but has suicidal people and shut-ins. And at most, Japan has small fats. Like, the most obese people are probably going to be around like 250 pounds or less, like maybe 200. That's just a wild guess. West is super mega blob fat, but not deliberately suicidal, but Westerners that are that fat will probably have strokes and heart attacks and just not care, probably from the apathy pills. This person wonders if Japan has more burning, boiling anguish, and the West just has apathy pill, nothingness, and blob consumption. Alright, that's the end of those notes. In the past, I saw a documentary about happiness, and it featured a duping delight castrato wearing a disfigured horror movie gore mask, and the story was the castrato had an auto accident and lost her face, but it was just a mask, and there was a lot of laughing and duping delight, and the person said that they were happier now that they're wearing a latex mask with red coloring on it. And then you had, like, the poor people who were happy. But here's the other thing. The documentary not once ever brought up recycled antidepressant piss in the water supply. Places like London and New York City and Toronto and other large cities, they have recycled antidepressant piss. They can't get the antidepressant piss out of the water. So if you drink the tap water, you're going to ingest antidepressants. Here's something I mentioned about reindeer and amanita mushrooms. Those things are not really psychoactive, but it was a substitute for alcohol, and a shaman or a reindeer would eat Amanita muscaria, and then other people would collect the urine and drink the urine and get high off of the urine. I'm not really sure how it works. I kind of thought once you use the substance, you've used it. But apparently some other substances are recyclable. So yeah, if you can't get the effects of mushrooms out of your urine, you can't get the effects of antidepressants out of your urine. Not only that, but happiness and sadness is a baseline thing. You can get used to anything. If you live in a dump all your life, you're not going to smell bad smells. It's going to smell fine to you. And it's all relative, really. And happiness is a fleeting emotion. But there have been a few small victories lately, so that's something to be optimistic optimistic about, and I will keep you posted on any developments